Really goes well for the video when the Sharpie starts to run out, probably because I left it open. I'm betting the measuring tape is underneath the plastic. Let me grab that real quick. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Dad's Backyard Blueprint. Today we are going to be doing another greenhouse, except smaller scale. You see these three plants, broccoli, I planted yesterday. They're still pretty small. These are the ones I sprouted from seed. So if you recall, I did a greenhouse video on a larger scale here. It's a really big box. It's about 4 by 12, and that spans the whole thing. If you want to look at that video, check it out on the channel. We're going to reduce it down to smaller size for a smaller garden box. And we're going to focus on a smaller scale here for just, let's say, 3 plants. It could be different for you if you want to do the same thing, but I'm going to show you how to make a small scale greenhouse with PVC, plastic, zip ties, and that's about it. Just a couple tools in between, and we'll be there. So here we go, step by step. Let's do it. So here we have everything we need. Sorry, dog is not included. Measuring tape, PVC cutters, plastic, zip ties, scissors, and PVC connectors, three-point PVC connectors, and PVC. Now, if you've seen in my other videos, I do use a lot of PVC for garden shades and everything, so I have a lot laying around. If you want to buy some at the store, it's not super expensive. First thing we're going to do is we are going to take our measurements. We can always kind of round it off to a nice round number so we don't make it too complicated, but let's go ahead and do that. So luckily this is going to be a rectangle going all the way around. So let's measure out the length. We'll give it a little extra space. So we'll go about 40 inches. 40 inches long. And about 20 inches wide. So if we remember our dimensions, we've got 40 by 20. We're going to measure out each PVC and mark it. Now we're going to need 4 of each length. So let's do the long ones first. So I've got 40. Take our Sharpie, mark that 40. Do the same thing past here. Measure our 40. That one's ready to cut. Let's do it on the next one. This might be almost spot on. It don't have to be perfect. So those 4 are ready to be cut. Now let's measure out through the cap somewhere. Awesome. Side big girl. Let's do our 20. Again, we're going to need 4 of these. 20. 20. 20. It's a little bit short, so actually that's fairly spot on. Maybe an eighth of an inch off. Pretty negligible in my opinion. We're gonna work with it. So now we're gonna take our PVC cutters. Everything here can be found at your local hardware store. Click it tight. Nice clean cut. Pull out, release the blade, start again. Yes, you may already know this, but just in case you don't. Here we go. All right. So we have our width. Let's do our length. We have our lines. You want to fast forward to after I've cut all these. Be my guest. So the reason we're going to be putting up a greenhouse is, one, those sprouts are pretty young, and it's decently cold outside. So one, to protect them, keep the humidity in, protect them from the weather, that is, keep the humidity in, and also this girl laying right here has made some tracks in the garden bed. I want to make sure that they don't get stepped on, trampled on. All right, let's close up the PVC cutters and move on. So now we're going to be putting our structure together. With our 3-point PVC connectors. They don't need to be, cemented on, glued on. Not a big deal. So we're just going to make the bottom frame for now. Make sure they're nice and straight, even, so it lays flat against the ground. Make sure it's on nice and snug. And we'll do the next one here. Now we'll put our long piece on. Finish up the bottom frame. And there we have it. This is going to lay right around those plants. Let's go ahead and take a look if we've got a good frame around it. So let's go ahead and put it on, or rather in prepositions, Amazing. All right, so that looks good. We've got it wide enough around the plants, and we've got some room for growth. We're just gonna need to level out the soil around the frame to make it nice and flat, so it doesn't vent too much. So it can actually hold the humidity inside the structure. So we're just going to take our trowel and we're going to level out where those PVC rest, so we don't have too much ventilation, and we can maximize our humidity inside the greenhouse. So we're going to take that frame, we're going to check again, see if we need to do more. I didn't do it wide enough, so we're going to go ahead and redistribute some of this dirt to kind of come up to it. Another way you can kind of do this is just kind of work it into the soil a little bit, then go around, bring up what you need. Again, doesn't have to be super perfect. This is not a farm. I'm not mass producing crops. This is just your average backyard garden. You can also do this to like freestanding garden beds. They sell them at Costco, those kits to do a raised bed for a balcony or something like that. You can easily make this for something like that. So that's pretty good. So we're going to leave this in here, and we've got to make another one of these and our vertical. So I'd say we go up about 20 inches again, so that we get a good height to allow for growth, and we won't have to redo it or make another one. All right, so let's go ahead and make the top of that structure, and then we'll measure out and cut the vertical pieces. So same thing as last time. Fairly easy setup here. Luckily it's not rocket science, but to give you an idea of how easy it is, I'm doing it in real time. We'll do so you can see it really doesn't take that long. There we go. And that final piece. Do this with really almost any size of PVC. This is just what I had laying around. Alright, so we've got our top frame here. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and make those vertical pieces. And again, about 20 inches. So we're going to take our PVC, measure out again. 20. Really goes well for the video when the Sharpie starts to run out, probably because I left it open. Sarcasm, my second language. Yes, I'm bilingual. Can't even say bilingual right, but you know, that is what fatigue does. Parenting. All right. Again, we're going to need 4 of them. I don't know what I'm doing here. Perfect, that'll come out to 3 exactly. Then we'll do one more on this one. There we are. So I've gone ahead and cut and put these 20-inch vertical pieces on. And now all we have to do is take our bottom side of the frame and attach it on. Let's go ahead and grab it. All right, here we go. Now we're going to set this on top. That last piece. Great. Simple rectangle. Pretty easy. Now we've got to cut the plastic. Measure it out first, of course. Cut the plastic to put around 5 sides of this rectangle. All right. So what I'm going to do first is take my plastic. I'm actually going to roll out a decent size. Definitely longer than that 40-inch length. Just because putting this whole sheet with the roll over the top can get a little difficult. But we are going to cut first, and then we're going to use the sheet that we cut to lay over. And I'm not going to use the exact measurements that we did for this because I want a little bit to wrap around the PVC so we can zip tie to it. So this is a pretty big sheet. Holds out pretty well. I get a little loud on the mic, sorry. Little rogue PVC over here. Alright, so nice thing is it's got these folds, so you can kind of cut straight based on those. But what we're going to do next is we are going to measure. I'm betting the measuring tape is underneath the plastic. Let me grab that real quick. Alright, underneath the plastic, there we go. So let's measure out how long this is. Or rather the width, I guess. But we'll take our measurement along that fold line. Alright. Now, looking at somewhere around, yeah, super exact, I know. Around 60 inches, 5 foot. Alright, so if we remember, we've got 40, 20, and 20. So, yeah. A little bit more than 60. So, we're going to have to cut lengthwise. Alright. So, we're going to do one over the top. We're going to do one, two, one on each side. So, in total, we got 3 pieces of plastic that we're going to be putting on this. So here's an alternative way to cut it. You can lay it over and see which way works better. And if you have extra, it's totally fine. You can cut it off later. But to get a general idea of how much you're going to need, again, we are going to be looping this around and zip tying to the PVC through the plastic. So let's go ahead Take our scissors, this down, cut through. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so now we've got a little bit extra over here and got a little bit extra over here. All right, so we're gonna even this out on both sides. Got some wind. Should be better if you had space in the garage or something that you could use without the wind. Plastic and wind, tough to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut off some of this excess. Sounds good. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start zip tying to the bottom down here. Yes, I've still got a little extra. That's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the back. I'll poke that zip tie through the plastic. And tighten it up. You can always cut that extra. It's not in the way. But that kind of makes the zip tie not reusable, but that's okay. So we're going to do this in three different points. All right. Again, we can cut off that extra. There we go. And we're going to do the same over here. Wrap it around. Grab a zip tie. Poke through from the inside. Pull tight. All right. Got our 3 points on this side. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to turn it around, do the other side real quick, and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. I've done both sides on our zip ties. And now what we can do with this extra is we can actually fold it around. And we can do a little zip tie here, just to keep that extra out of the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and poke one through here. Of course, got to be the right way. I had it right the first time. All right, we're gonna cut off that extra. So we can also do the same thing here at the top. Gonna round it in. Take a zip tie. Poke it through. Now it's nice and secure. All right. That here, right in the middle. Oh, poke it through. Go. All right. So this side, pretty much done. There's not a whole lot sticking out. If there is, you know what? That's okay. You can either cut it or leave it as is. It's not really going to harm anything. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and flip this around, do this exact thing to the other side, and we'll be right back. So for the last piece of plastic that we need to put on, this is actually upside down now. It's going to go down this side over the top and cover this end as well. We're going to zip tie it to the bottom just like we did these ones, and we might have a little bit left over. We can always trim it off. So let's see what we got. Luckily I had a piece of plastic from another project that was pretty much the perfect size, so we're going to go ahead and use this. Pretty much standard. If you need to cut, pretty much measure and cut just like I did for this one. So we're going to move this out of the way. We're going to actually lay this down. Again, if you have a better, more flat space to use, I recommend it. All right, we're going to bring this up right about there. I'm going to fold it over, and we're going to zip tie it. Again, if you want to fast forward through this part, you can. You don't need to necessarily sit here and watch me zip tie these, but if that's your thing, go for it. I don't judge. Or if you want to watch me struggle, that's a good one too. Sometimes these zip ties do not want to go through the plastic. This is a standard kind of 3 mil plastic. If you are looking for plastic sheets at the hardware store, pretty easy to find. Don't need to get super fancy with all the quote-unquote greenhouse sheeting. This plastic does just fine. So there we go. There's one side. So we have this extra, but that's okay. We can always cut it off or trim it down if we need to. So we're going to change sides here. We're going to flip this up. And it is pretty perfect. Can't complain too much. All right. So we're going to wrap this in and do the same. Apply our 2 zip ties. If you need an extra one in the middle, go for it. Extra zip ties, not a big deal. Cut off the end. And our second one over here, wrap it up. Now, this is a simple rectangle. If you really wanted to not have to worry about the rain, you could have made this an A-frame. That would require just a couple more pieces and a little more cutting, extra PVC, but it's definitely doable. Now, I didn't have the time to run off to the store and go get those pieces, so this is what we're going to use. I'll come out and tip off the water. That's all right. All right. So what to do about the extra? I'll show you what we can do. So we are going to actually cut straight in on these corners, and then I'm going to cut straight across down the top. All the way down until I get to the other corner. From there, I'm going to cut in just like I did on this side. Like so. Yeah, I end up with a little bit of extra, but it's okay. Let's do the same to this. Now you got some options to choose from when dealing with this extra. You can either cut it all off, but if this is just kind of floating, there's maybe a little bit too much ventilation coming in from the side. So again, we have a couple options. We can either tape it, which sounds like a pretty good idea. Or we can use more zip ties to kind of close it off. Now, the tape might offer a little bit more seal, a little bit less ventilation. And all you would have to do with that tape is fold this over and put one piece of tape right here. That's actually what we're going to do today. Let me go grab that tape. All right, so what we're going to use is packing tape. It's clear. You won't really be able to see it. You could use duct tape, but we want tape that's going to hold up to the elements, right? Duct tape would be, ideal. This would be pretty good as well. So we're going to tip this on its side. I got a nice clean line here. Just do one sheet all the way down. You could even bring it over the top, just like that. Again, we're kind of trying to keep this relatively inexpensive, right? Easy to build with cheap materials. This is the nature of DIY here. We don't all have expensive tools. We don't always have all the materials that we could possibly use. So we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the same on this side. Put it over the top, over the bottom. All right, looks pretty good. Just make sure it's nice and snug on there. We're going to go ahead and do the same to the other one. Remember, we're not going to be keeping this little makeshift greenhouse on those plants the entire time they're growing. I'm just making sure that my little seedlings are protected. For the big box, it's actually working really well. I planted those plants about 2 weeks ago, and they are thriving, growing so fast. Put this on its side. Tape. Make sure it's on there. Great. And last side here. Flip it over. Nice line. And underneath, that way we can, a little less ventilation, which is okay, because you know it's bound to happen that you're going to get these little holes. That's okay. That's a little bit of ventilation. And now we're going to go ahead and move this onto our plants, see how it fits. So I'm going to put in a little bit of water for these plants. They are small, pretty fragile. Give them a bit of water. I'm going to water a little bit in between, so it gives it a little bit more humidity inside the greenhouse box. Now let's put on our greenhouse. Looks good. I think we're there. So there we have it. We have our makeshift greenhouse complete. Fits pretty well, and just enough ventilation, and inexpensive, easy to build. Hopefully this guide will allow you to do the same. Have fun out there. Happy growing. If you made it to the end of this video, please like, consider subscribing. We're trying to grow this channel, and we'll see you next time.